Welcome to the Libertarian Solution YouTube podcast. This is take number 3 because apparently I am far too wordy and YouTube's 10-minute limit is causing me to have to redo this video again. So I'm going to try and go a little faster, keep it a little shorter this time. By the way, I got a new microphone, so hopefully that will improve the quality of the sound, especially while I'm on the road. Hopefully that'll make it a little better there. So, anyway, got a question emailed to me from a listener who was talking about someone named Dr. Wakefield, who I guess is the one who originally put forth the idea that vaccines cause autism. And he sent me a link to an article, which I have not read yet, that says that that information, the research that he did to come up with that conclusion has been debunked or is not true, that there is no connection between vaccinations and autism. Now, I haven't gone through the link and read it yet, so I don't know whether or not it's true. I don't know what's been proven, what hasn't been. But that's not the fundamentals of the question, so that's really not too important, I don't think. But essentially, what he's saying is, in the UK, he has been stripped of his license, is no longer able to practice medicine because of the research he put out is faulty. And so the question that the emailer puts forth is, should his license have been revoked because no proof that actual harm has come from his from his actions? So essentially, he's saying the government is claiming to act in self-defense by pulling his license, or in the defense of citizens by pulling his license, but there's no proof that there's anything to defend against, and so are they essentially initiating force because there's there's no proof that he's actually done any kind of harm. And I think that's an interesting question, but I think it kind of sidesteps the important issue. Now, the emailer did allude to the idea of licensing that we talk about on the show, and that the libertarian solution to licensing is to not have any of it. So we've talked about licensing been on our show. Now, this is in our system today. We have licensing for doctors, for lawyers, for cab drivers, for plumbers, for electricians, for contractors of any kind. For the most part, depending on the jurisdiction, these people have to be licensed, which means they need government permission in order to engage with consumers for this particular for any particular activity, money-making activity like this. And the libertarian solution, of course, is that these licenses should not exist. That would cause an increase in supply, therefore a decrease in price, and make a lot of these things a lot less expensive. But not only that, licensing doesn't actually protect consumers. So someone who's new to these ideas might ask, well, how do you protect consumers then without licensing? Couldn't anyone just say, I'm a doctor and I'm going to perform surgery on you? Like, well, yeah, I guess they could, but if you're, any patient, are you just going to say, okay, I have no idea who you are and you haven't proven anything to me, and so feel free to cut my stomach open and engage in surgery? Probably not. I don't think that's going to happen. So what libertarians propose is the idea of certification. Now, the distinction that I'm going to use here between licensing and certification is that licensing is something that's issued by the state and is required in order to engage in a particular action. A certificate is something that's issued by a private entity and is not required in order to engage in that action. A certificate is essentially a seal of approval, saying that this company or this private entity recognizes that you are capable of performing this particular action. So let me give you kind of an example. In the industry that I'm in, which is IT, there are many certificates and really no government regulations on what you can do. As far as you don't have to be licensed to be a computer technician or a systems administrator. But there are certificates out there. For instance, a company called Red Hat, which has a distribution of Linux, has certifications for systems administrators. And so you can go through a process and take classes and then take a test through Red Hat that you must pass in order to prove that you are capable of administering a Red Hat system. Now, once you pass this test, you get the certification, you can show the certificate to someone and use it as proof that you know how to administer systems and you know how to manage their Linux servers. Now, it doesn't mean that if you don't have the certificate, you're not allowed to do it. What it does mean is that if you're applying for a job, in order to do this task, you might be asked by your potential employer, do you have any certifications? Are you certified by Red Hat? Because we've got a bunch of Red Hat servers and we want to make sure that whoever we hire knows Red Hat. So if you have the certification, you've made your potential employer's job a lot easier, and therefore they are likely to pay more money for your expertise. If you don't have the certificate, the employer could outright reject you and say, okay, well, we're not going to hire you. Or they could say, well, we have an in-house testing process that you have to go through then because you're not certified, so we want you to show us and prove to us that you know what you're doing. Now, if they're going to go engage in these actions, they might pay you a little bit less because they had to go through the extra work of developing this and proving your abilities. And not only that, but all the other applicants as well. So it's going to be a lot easier on a potential employer if you have the certificate. The way this works in the consumer realm is with a company, for instance, in electronics. All electronics pretty much have certifications with them that prove that they're safe. And your television, your microwave, whatever it is, it's going to have some kind of stamp on it, probably by UL, like Underwriters Laboratory, or CE, or one of their competitors. The reason these certifications exist is because without them, major retailers like Walmart and Target won't carry the products. It doesn't mean that you as the individual are going through and looking at the back of the products to see if they have a UL stamp on the back. The manufacturers of the devices are the ones that pay UL or their competitor for the certification. They do this because without the certification, the major retailers won't carry and sell their products. The retailers won't do it because they don't want to sell faulty products and dangerous products. So the reason that the certification is worth anything is only because they make sure that they certify only products that are actually safe. If they were to go through and just accept money from everyone, including people from who do not make safe products, then they would no longer have anything to sell. The UL reputation, the stamp, would mean nothing. It would be completely irrelevant if they were to certify everything, including unsafe products. The same thing can work in any other sector of the economy. You can have doctors who have certifications, lawyers have certifications, and as a consumer, potential consumer of one of these providers, they would use these certifications to demonstrate to you that they've gone through a process to know what's what, that they can actually provide the tasks and perform the services that they're claiming to be able to provide for you. So a doctor, a potential doctor who puts a sign on his house and says, I'm a doctor, come on in, and has never practiced medicine in his life and doesn't know a thing about it, isn't likely to get any customers because he doesn't have any certifications, and people are just like, oh, I don't know who you are. You got to be able to prove to me that you know what you're doing. But if he's got a bunch of certifications through different entities who have put him to task at requiring that he prove his abilities, then that means something. That means more than a government-issued license. So the same thing can happen in any area. So in the case of Dr. Wakefield, if he had private certifications, it would be perfectly within the rights of the companies who provided the certifications to pull those certifications if they felt that he was no longer worthy of the certification, of the seal of approval. It would not mean that Dr. Wakefield couldn't practice medicine. Instead, it would just mean that it would be much more difficult for him to do so, because he didn't have the seal of approval anymore of the companies who had otherwise provided him certificates. So we don't have an initiation of force issue going on anymore, or a self-defense issue. We have an issue where we have voluntary transactions, people being able to make their own choices. If you want to hire someone like Dr. Wakefield as your doctor, who has been shown to put out bunk information, and people believe that that's the case, then that's perfectly your right to do that. As an individual, it's your choice to make. But the information would be out there based on these consumer protection agencies that provide certifications. So hopefully that clarifies the question. I think I'm just about out of time. I really would like to not do this video a fourth time. So if you have any additional questions, any other public policy, philosophy, free market, libertarian type questions, love answering those. Don't forget to fan us on Facebook, subscribe to the YouTube channel, check out libertariansolution.com. We'll see you next time.